Hey guys, it's Brant. I'm back for Kiss's third release, Dressed to Kill. Let's get right into it. Dressed to Kill was produced by Neil Bogart and Kiss. It was recorded at Electric Lady Studios, New York City during February 1975. It was engineered and mixed by Dave Whitman and George Lopez. The album was originally supposed to be called Kiss at Midnight, which had been an interesting title since Paul was being given plenty of Gibson Midnight Special guitars for smashing purposes during shows. One funny thing to notice is on the album cover here, if you look at my albums that I have the original press, and this is my 180 that's still sealed, so we're going to leave that sealed. But if we take this out of here, we'll take a look at the album real quick. And you'll see that this is the original press. Take the album real carefully out here, show it. Now this actually is not an original press. It's kind of misleading what I said, because we all know that the original presses, I believe, have the blue labels. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But here is side 1, and then we have side 2. And then you notice that these big runouts here on either side. This is a very short album. This album actually was only just a little over 30 minutes long. So it's the shortest Kiss album in the whole catalog. And it was basically because they had only actually been on tour for about 4 months after Harder Than Hell came out, and was called back into the studio to record Dressed to Kill after 4 months of being on the road, because basically Casablanca was about to run out of money. They were about to go bankrupt pressing albums for Kiss and promoting Kiss and promoting the albums. They'd already lost the support of the record company they were with before, and I can't remember, it's leaving me right now. Somebody can probably comment and remind me. But so they had to get back in the studio, and they even did it so cheap that they used Neil Bogart rather than having an actual official producer. And all Bogart really did was he would sit behind the console, and whenever Kiss would do a take, he would be like, "That's good," and Kiss would be like, "No, that's not good. You know, let's do it again." I read that in Paul's book. So yeah, they basically was recording this on a shoestring budget. They didn't have hardly any songs. They had to recycle songs from their first album, songs that should have been on the first album or the second album, all the way back to Wicked Lester, all the way back to pre-Wicked Lester, to Rainbow, Gene's early band. And so they were really scraping the bottom of the barrel, and they were basically writing songs about things that they knew about life on the road, partying, women, you know, excess, and things like that. So it was a really very quickly produced album, and it was one that they had to try to get out to try to make some more money for Casablanca. Now, one thing that I did want to point out here is you can't see it very well on mine, so I'll pull a picture up here. But this says Kiss, 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 Kiss all the way around. And if you've got one of the original pressings, or the 180 gram, this is actually embossed around here. But this all says Kiss except for this one right here. Due to make it fit the way it was supposed to fit, this only says KIS. There's not an extra S here. Now, I was talking about the speedy production. There's actually some songs on this album that do not have solos. Rock and Roll All Night does not have a solo. Anything for My Baby does not have a solo. Now, the photo on the cover features the band in suits. But Peter was the only one originally who owned a suit. The other members had to borrow their suits from the manager, Bill LaCoin, which is why if you look at Gene's suit, his pants legs are very short. This photo was taken by the legendary photographer Bill Gruen on location in New York, on the southeast corner of 23rd Street and 8th Avenue. It was part of a series of photos. I think it was called I think it was called something like Kiss Saves the World or something like that. I looked it up to try to find it during my research. I heard it somewhere, maybe on somewhere like History Science Theater or one of the other podcasts I listened to. Maybe it might have been on Ralph Vieira's Almost Human 56 channel. I can't remember. Now the album, like I said earlier, was recorded in February 1975. It was released on March the 19th in the US. The highest peak on the charts it hit was 32. It spent 29 weeks on the charts. This album actually entered the top 200 twice. It entered it originally when it first came out, and then it entered it again after Alive was released, because after these people, all the new fans discovered Kiss, a lot of people went back and rebought the first three albums, or bought the first three albums for the first time. And this was during the time that Originals was released. I'm not exactly sure. I get the discography a little confused. Can't remember if it was released a little bit before or if it was released after Live, but I think it was released after Live. If you know better than me, put it in the comments. I don't mind. But now anyway, let's get to the songs. That's what we really want to talk about. Let's get to the songs. Let's start with track 1. Room Service. Written by Paul, and lead vocals by Paul. And Paul also plays rhythm guitar. Ace played the lead guitar. Gene played bass. Peter played drums. Talking about who played what on this album, because there are some members that didn't play on all the songs. So we'll get to those songs in just a bit. Room Service was written by Paul Stanley during the studio sessions. Little needs to be said about the song, which is so obviously about life on the road. Paul basically says that they had cassette players beside their beds. They listened to rock music all the time and laid girls all the time. And basically that's what their life was about. It was just about partying and just about music and about chicks. And Paul is basically celebrating. I've heard that people say that this is a celebration of what it was like to be in the band at the time. Now I give Room Service a 7 on my scale. So let's go to the next track, track number 2. Two-Timer, written by Gene, and Gene sings the vocals and plays the bass guitar. Paul plays rhythm, Ace plays lead, Peter plays drums. This was written by Gene during a very early studio session for the follow-up to Higher Than Hell. I have to be honest, this is not one of my favorite songs on the album. I score this one a 5, and I like it okay. It's one of those songs that's like, you come out with Room Service, which really just comes out, and the production on this album is far better than the first 2 albums. But it kind of comes out and it's, you kick ass with Room Service coming out, and then all of a sudden it just kind of slows down into this Two-Timer song. It's not a bad song. I don't exactly like the placement of it, but I'll get into that later. But I like this song okay. Let's go to the next track, track 3. Ladies in Waiting, another Gene song written by Gene. Gene sings vocals, plays bass, and also plays rhythm guitar. Ace plays lead guitar, Peter plays drums. This was written during the studio sessions for the album. Like most of the material, was quickly written by the band for Dress to Kill. It's hardly surprising that the members looked back on their recent grueling year of touring for inspiration. It was written about the pleasures given by ladies while on the road. He wrote the lyrics to the song while the band was rehearsing the music. And like I said, the recording of this song also features Gene playing rhythm guitar. Ladies in Waiting is another one of those songs that I like Gene. Don't get me wrong. I like Gene, but this is just another song that just for me, just does not, it just kind of falls flat. I give this a 5 on my rating, but it just doesn't do anything for me. I don't skip it, but I might be tuning out a little bit while this song is on. This is good background music, but it's not one that really comes up and, punches me. So let's go on to the next track. Let's go to track number 4. Getaway, written by Ace. Ace did the backing vocals and all guitars. Peter did the lead vocals and played the drums. This song is basically just Peter and Ace. This is Ace's contribution to the band's material that was given to Peter to sing. This song ended up being the B-side on both of the singles released in support of the album, Come On and Love Me and Rock and Roll All Night. Ace plays all the guitars, as I said. He plays the rhythm, the lead, and the bass and everything. Like I said before, this song's basically just Ace and Peter, and I like this song, I really do. I give this song a 7 on my scale. I like Peter's voice. Peter's voice, he just has the best voice. I've heard him come under a lot of criticism from other members of the band for not being able to control his voice and things like that. But Peter always has come under a lot of fire for not being a good drummer. You know, Peter is about to come into his element where, you know, we're getting ready to come up on Alive and then Destroyer and then Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun and Peter and just everybody in the band. This is just their zenith. This is just where they've taken off and now they're just getting ready to go vertical with their career, with their musicianship and everything. So I give this song a 7. I really like it. So let's move on to the next track. Rock Bottom. The intro was written by Ace and the song was written by Paul. Paul sang the lead vocal, played the rhythm guitar, Gene played the bass guitar, Ace played lead, Peter played the drums. While this song is credited to both Paul and Ace, it's not really a collaboration between the two. Instead, it's more like a patchwork, taking the almost classical instrumental piece that Ace had written and binding it to the beginning of the song that Paul had written. According to Paul, the instrumental at the beginning is Ace and I playing. Once again, it was the idea of starting something off soft and then going into something much crunchier. This helped make Dress to Kill album longer because this acoustic introduction that is really drawn out, in my opinion, adds another 1 minute 57 seconds to the song's overall length. This was another one of Paul's songs to have some free influences to it. Sean Delaney claimed to have co-written part of this song, although it can't be substantiated. It's rumored that the beginning instrumental is something that Ace used to play to warm up before the shows. Now, I really like Rock Bottom. Rock Bottom, I give it a 7 on my scale. It's just a great song. I like the instrumental at the beginning. It runs on a little long. I like the song. I like the way it kicks in. It don't kick in as well on this album as it does on the Alive version. A lot of these songs on here I like just as good as the Alive version, but there's some songs that I like better on the Alive version. This is one of them. And any of the songs that has a solo or an extended part that I'll get to whenever I get to those songs, I really like those songs better because it just kicks the way it does. And so, but I give this a 7 on my scale. And let's flip the album and let's go to track 1 of side 2. Come On and Love Me. Written by Paul. Paul sang lead vocals and rhythm guitar. He did the intro guitar solo. Gene plays bass guitar, Ace plays lead guitar, Peter plays drums. This is the first Kiss song to feature Paul Stanley on lead guitar at the beginning. He plays the first part of the song's intro section. This song has very much of a road sense in its lyrics. It was written in less than an hour. This song dates from the period from the end of the Hotter Than Hell tour into the Dress to Kill studio sessions. It was inspired by a Moody Blues song called Question. And the way the band, according to Paul, were hitting some of the chords, it was almost symphonic in a kind of way. This was released as a single that did not chart. Come On and Love Me is a good song. I give it a 6 on my scale. It's one of the songs that I actually like a little better on Alive. It's just a good song. It's got good arrangement, good harmonies, good melodies. It's just an overall good song. It's not my favorite song on the track, on the album, but it's good, so I give it a 6. Let's go to the next track.
Anything for my baby. I would steal anything for my baby.
Anything for my baby. Written by Paul. Paul does lead vocals, plays rhythm guitar. Gene plays bass guitar. Peter plays the drums. Paul Stanley wrote this song so fast during the sessions that it doesn't even feature a guitar solo. According to Paul, we were going for song content and not really thinking about elaborating on it musically, whether that meant solos or any other filler. It really bothers me that this song doesn't have a solo. I don't know, it just sounds incomplete. And I don't really like this song. I don't like the whole anything for my baby and how it just does that rolling drums. And I'm a drummer, and just that rolling drums during the chorus. This song doesn't really do anything for me. Once again, I don't skip it, so I'm going to give it a 5 on my scale. It's not a song I skip, but it's probably, one of my least favorite songs on the album. So let's go on to the next track. She. Written by Gene Simmons and Stephen Cornell. Paul sang lead vocals and rhythm guitar. Gene sang lead vocals and played bass guitar. Ace played lead guitar. Peter played drums. She was originally recorded by Wicked Lester, but the song dated back to Gene's Bullfrog Beer Band and had been written by him and Stephen Cornell. Steve's input was coming up with the signature riff. Gene then developed the piece into a full song, possibly recycling some earlier lyrical ideas. While the song is not overly complex, Gene's recalled, "I remember struggling with She. It was in my mother's basement. I was still going to school and I had this idea for a song. I wanted to call it She Walks by Moonlight because I remember a line in the movie called Hondo, an Indian movie. It was about some cowboy. He went up to some Indian chief and goes, 'I want your daughter.' The chief said, 'You may not have my daughter.' The cowboy said, 'Why not?' The chief said, 'She walks by moonlight.' And that became the first line of the song. I don't even know what it meant. I just loved the sound of it." I love Gene. I loved his book. I just loved listening to the man talk. I don't know what it is. I don't drink the Gene Kool-Aid though, but I don't drink any band members' Kool-Aid really. I have my pros and cons about all of them. But She is an awesome song. It does not. It sticks out like a sore thumb on this album. It actually should have been. Sounds like it should have been on Hotter Than Hell, or maybe even the first album. But I think more Hotter Than Hell is where it belongs, just because of the lyrical content. It's kind of dark and broody, and just that that lyric and that riff, and it's just an awesome song. It's my favorite song on the album. I give it an 8, and so it's a really good song all in all the way around. Let's go to the next song. Love Her All I Can, written by Paul Stanley. Paul sang the lead vocals and played rhythm guitar. Gene sang bass, did vocals. Ace did lead guitars. Peter played the drums. According to Paul, this song started off with a guitar part that was influenced or stolen, depending on how you want to look at it, from the opening guitar feature in I Can't Explain by The Who. And the guitar bass figure is ripped off from Open My Eyes by Nas. This song also has been considered for recording on the previous album. Very little was changed, either in the arrangement or the lyrics of the song when recorded for the album. Though unlike She, it hadn't been as frequently performed in the Kiss live set. An additional solo section replaced some of Paul's vocal harmonies. This song dates back to pre-Kiss to Wicked Lester and was actually recorded by Wicked Lester along with She for Wicked Lester's album. I like Love Her All I Can. I give it a 7 on my scale. I just like the chorus. I like the verses. I like the guitar riff. To me, this is overall, it's a good song. It's a strong song. I give it a 7. And let's go on to the next track. Rock and Roll All Night, and Party Every Day. The last song on the album, it was written by Paul Stanley and Gene. Paul plays rhythm guitar, Gene sings lead vocals, plays bass guitar, Peter plays drums. As was commonplace with many of the songs credited to both Gene and Paul, Rock and Roll All Night was a hybrid of two separate ideas. Paul had written a chorus at the Continental Hyatt Hotel in Los Angeles at the end of the Hotter Than Hell tour. According to Paul, when he came up with the chorus for Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day, he knocked on Gene's door and said, "I think I've got it. I've got this so-called anthem we need." Gene came and said, "Well, I have this song called Drive Us Wild." We put the two together, and lo and behold, they had a song that spawned a whole viewpoint, which was writing a song that embodied the philosophy of the band and the people who loved the band. The song was ultimately a result of Neil Bogart's suggestion for the band that they needed to write an anthem. They needed to write a song that the fans could rally behind. Similar to Sly and the Family Stone's I Want to Take You Higher. Paul felt that the song was more than just an anthem, even though it was. It was based on the idea of needing an anthem and rallying for our fans, Paul said. He felt that Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day pretty much captured the essence, and when Gene put his verse to it, he thought very much that it was what Kiss was all about. It was released as a single and charted as high as 68. This is the other song on the album that does not feature a guitar solo by Ace. And I got to give it some major dings for that because I love Rock and Roll All Night. It's one of those songs, it's not wore off on me, even though it's probably one of the most well-known Kiss songs out there. Probably Rock and Roll All Night, Detroit Rock City, and I Was Made for Loving You. I mean, those are the three, and Beth, but Beth's not really so much now. You take a non-Kiss fan and they will recognize those three songs. But it really takes a hit on me that it doesn't have the solo. I love, love, love the live version of this. It has the solo and everything, and I love it. So with that ding, I have to give Rock and Roll All Night a 6 on my scale. And that puts the total score of this album to a 6.3. So for those of you who are playing along, and I actually had a suggestion by a viewer, and I love my suggestions from my viewers. Y'all keep those suggestions coming because you and I together are working together to make this the best review channel that we can make it. And so I had a viewer that suggested that I keep a running tally. So I'm going to show right here is a running tally of so far how I've ranked the albums. If you'll look, you'll see that Dress to Kill is 6.3. Kiss, the debut album, is a 6. And Hotter Than Hell is a 5.8. So that places, as of right now, the first 3 Kiss albums before the Alive album. That places Dress to Kill as my favorite album up to this point. It's not my favorite overall Kiss album. I can tell you that. It's going to come later. But Dress to Kill is a solid album. There's not too much they could have done differently other than adding some solos, maybe making the songs with a little longer. The songs, a lot of them just sounded so shortened and so incomplete, and just so you can hear the rushness, if that's a word, but you can hear the incompleteness in them and how they hurried the songs along and hurried the recording album along, because not only did they not have a whole lot of songs, but they didn't have a whole lot of studio time either. They were about to go broke, or Kiss was broke. Kiss was making I think maybe $30 a week at this time, if I'm not mistaken. They weren't making a whole lot of money. They weren't, rich rock stars at this point. That didn't come till after Alive. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen. We're going to look at how I rank the songs. So She has an 8. Getaway has a 7. Love Her All I Can comes in as my 3rd favorite with a 7. Then Room Service with a 7 as my 4th favorite. And then Rock Bottom as my 5th favorite with a 7. Then Come On and Love Me has a 6. Rock and Roll All Night has a 6. Anything for My Baby is a 5. We're starting getting down to not really stinkers, but just songs I don't really care for. Two Timer has a 5, and Ladies in Waiting has a 5. Now you notice this is the first album that I did not score any song under a 5. Where on the previous albums I scored some 4s, 3s, and 2s. I've yet to score a song a 1, but I guarantee you there are some songs coming that I'm going to wish I could score a 0. And I may even score some songs coming up a 0. But we'll get to those when we get to them. And for those of you who have asked me, I am eventually going to score a song a 10. I had somebody ask me, are you ever going to give a song a 10? To me, 10's perfect. And we haven't hit a perfect song as it is on the album. We haven't hit a perfect 10, in my opinion, yet. Now, you can give me your song listings in the bottom of what you think's best, what you think's worst. Feel free to comment, be interactive, continue to make those suggestions. And so what I'm going to move on to now before we wrap this up is my ideal track listing. So we're going to go ahead and put that up on the screen. Now what I would do on this is I wouldn't change a whole lot. I would start it off side 1. We're going to do for the album. Side 1, track 1 would be Room Service. Then I'd follow with track 2 with Love Her All I Can. Track 3, Getaway. Track 4, Anything for My Baby. Track 5, Rock Bottom. Flip the Vinyl. Side 2, track 1, Come On and Love Me. Track 2, Ladies in Waiting. Track 3, She. Track 4, Two Timer. Track 5, Rock and Roll All Night. And there you have it. That's my review. That's my review of this album. I do like this album. It's my favorite of the 3, the first 3. And it's probably in my top 15. You got to remember, Kiss has 30 albums. So this is probably in my top 15, top 20. I'm kind of curious to see how all these albums are going to stack out because I don't know. I've never sat down and done this. I've not done this at a time. I write these as I'm doing them. I'm scoring them as I'm doing them. So, but yeah, Dress to Kill, Kiss. Good album. Kicks ass. I like it. Even though it's only 6.3, I still like this album. But which one would you choose? If you could only choose one of the first 3 albums, that's the question, that's the essay question of the day. If you could choose one of the first 3 albums to be the only album, if you could only have one out of the first 3 and you had to give the other 2 away, which one would you keep? Would you keep Kiss? Would you keep Dress to Kill? Or would you keep Hotter Than Hell? Me, I keep this one right here. Okay? Once again, click on my face right here if you want to subscribe, like, comment, share. Keep the comments coming, and I'll see you next time.